So I'm going to show everybody, even if you beg the question with these anti-flat earthers, their definition of Coriolis force does not work on their model, and the devil's always in the details. So here it defines the Coriolis force and shows an object moving from the equator toward the North Pole deflects to the right. Okay, and now they show a diagram, and they show something moving from the equator north, deflecting to the right or clockwise. So their narrative is so far so good. So let's take a look at some examples of this in real life and see how it holds up. Okay, so they show a Foucault pendulum. It says it always rotates clockwise in the northern hemisphere. So yeah, so that follows the diagram so far, and the definition so far so good. So clockwise in the northern hemisphere due to conservation of momentum. But then, oh wait a minute, now we're told that hurricanes are caused by Coriolis effect. But they go counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere. And I think they pretty much agree across the board with this. So the Foucault pendulum conserves momentum and goes clockwise, but the hurricanes conserve momentum and go counterclockwise. So which is it? So you dive in deep and you start really thinking about it, and you show them a cylinder, and they'll say that there is no Coriolis on a cylinder because the ground speed at the equator in the north is the same. So let's hear them.
This is true for a non-rotating sphere and a non-rotating cylinder. Once you're rotating both of them, Coriolis is effect only on the sphere, not on the cylinder.
Listen,
oh my
let me
God,
get to the point.
I know exactly what your point is.
Bro, shut up. Can I fucking talk?
No, because I can't.
Yes, I'm going to mute him in a second. Hold on, I'm driving, but I am going to mute him
dude, he won't even listen. How could he understand if he won't listen?
Mute Brian. He's the one that's not fucking listening.
Zanuck, relax.
If we took the Earth, okay, and we built up the ground from the equator toward the North Pole into a cylinder, then staying on the ground, okay, would be the same direction as if all that dirt that we just built up into a cylinder on half the sphere eroded away and followed the tangent. Now the projectile's in the air because all the dirt's gone on that cylinder. Okay, so he's saying if we built the dirt up, that there wouldn't be Coriolis because it'd be a cylinder. But now the dirt eroded away and the bullet's now in the air instead of on the ground. Now he's saying that there's still Coriolis. Now he's saying there's still Coriolis. First he's saying there wouldn't be on a cylinder, but going in the same direction as the cylinder, following that path, there would. So he's double speaking. I don't think he understands the question. Go ahead, Zenny. There are consequences to the claims these people make that they never think through. The devil's always in the details. So when they claim that the atmosphere moves with the Earth in lockstep, basically, that means it has to start moving faster the higher it gets. And they stick to that story. So let's think about what I said in that video, and let's picture globe Earth and cylinder Earth side by side. And let's picture there's a metal rod in the middle at the center of rotation. Now, they claim there's no Coriolis on cylinder Earth because you're equidistant from that rod from the equator all the way to the north. This is why I used the demonstration of building up globe Earth from the equator to the North Pole into cylinder Earth to show them how their own story unfolds. Okay, so picture we're standing on cylinder Earth on the equator facing the North Pole, and we have an artillery shell 5 foot off the ground. We fire it parallel with the ground, and it makes it 20 miles before it hits the ground. Okay, they agree there would be no Coriolis because the ground speed doesn't change on cylinder Earth. Now picture we're on globe Earth at the equator facing the North Pole, and we fire a projectile 5 foot off the ground. We fire it out parallel, so it's in a tangent. So it starts off following the cylinder. So think with me for a second. I used this example to try and explain it, okay? I built up the Earth, the globe Earth, with dirt and fire the artillery shell parallel with the ground, but right when I fire it, all the dirt erodes but it still takes that path until it drops underneath that tangent line from the equator to the North Pole or towards it. There's going to be no Coriolis. In fact, if I fire it at an upwards angle, there's going to be reverse Coriolis. So this is how you know their firing tables are full of shit, because if you fire out at 0 degrees until it drops down underneath that tangent line, which might not be long at all, but there's going to be no Coriolis. But let's say we fire up an artillery shell at any angle at all, there's going to be reverse Coriolis. So instead of deflecting to the right, it's going to deflect toward the left, because we're entering an area of even higher rotational speed, not lower. So we know that if we follow the cylinder, the surface of the cylinder, we know that at that angle that it's equal. The speed is equal. So you don't even have to do the math. The surface of the cylinder is going to remain at an equal rotational speed. So on a sphere, it doesn't matter what we're on, if we maintain that angle is the surface of the cylinder, it's going to be the same rotational speed. So let's put all this in perspective. If we are on the ground at the equator firing north, and we fire in a tangent, as long as that bullet doesn't drop below that tangent, we know that it's staying equal distant from the metal rod. So it's entering an area the same rotational speed as it left, so no Coriolis. We know that if we fire out further and the bullet drops below the tangent line, we know that the bullet's entering an area of lesser rotational speed, so we'll get deflection to the right. Now we know that if we fire at an angle above that tangent, above the cylinder shape tangent we've discussed, we know that it's entering a region of faster rotational speed, so it's going to have reverse Coriolis, for lack of better words. It's entering an area of faster rotational speed than it left, so it's going to deflect to the left. So a real life example here. A sniper's laying on the ground, his muzzle is 6 inches off the ground at the equator, and he's shooting north, and his target is 6 foot above the ground. Now we know that if his target's 2 miles away and 6 foot above the ground, then we know that that bullet is entering into an area of a faster rotational speed than it left from. So the firing table will be exactly opposite. It'll be dead wrong. If his target is 2 miles away and it's the 32 inches, that's earth drop from that distance, and plus the 6 inches, if the target's that high, there'll be 0 Coriolis. It'll level out. So the bullet would be entering area that's equidistant from that metal rod, therefore the same rotational speed. So anything lower than the tangent, Coriolis, deflection to the right. Anything level, anything on a tangent that maintains that line will level out and there'll be 0 Coriolis, and anything at a higher angle, anything at an angle steeper than the tangent line, is going to be reverse Coriolis. So we've broke the globe today, pretty much, and we learned that their claim on its face that things are conserving momentum, the Foucault pendulum spins clockwise, but then the hurricane spins counterclockwise. So for them to try and maintain this delusion is unacceptable. It's not honest. But I'm going to try and get this out there, but this needs to be discussed. And then, they tried to look at right here where, they even admit that the age-old myth of the toilet flush in a certain direction in the northern and southern hemisphere, that to me would be necessary, but we proved that wrong. So they do acknowledge some of their bullshit. We just got to try and get them to acknowledge all of it.